This spice destroys bad gut bacteria and starves colon cancer. Add this to every meal. Today, most people believe cancer begins suddenly. One day you're fine, and the next day, something is wrong. But that's not how it actually works. Long before any tumor appears, long before any diagnosis, something much smaller begins to change inside your body. A silent shift deep inside your gut. A study published in the journal Gut Microbes found that harmful bacteria in the intestines can begin altering your internal environment years before colon cancer is ever detected. That means the process doesn't start with cancer. It starts with imbalance. Right now, inside your gut, trillions of bacteria are living, competing, and constantly changing. Some protect you, but others do the opposite. They release toxins, they trigger inflammation, and over time, they create the exact conditions where abnormal cells can grow. And here's the part most people don't realize. This process is heavily influenced by what you eat every single day, not just over years, but within days, sometimes even within hours. Now imagine this. What if one simple spice, something already sitting in your kitchen, could enter that environment, reduce harmful bacteria, and interrupt the very process that allows abnormal cells to grow, not by chance, but through a clear biological mechanism? That's exactly what we're going to uncover. Because the truth is, most people are either not using this spice at all, or they are using it in a way that gives them almost zero benefit. And that one mistake changes everything. For a long time, I followed the same approach most doctors are trained to follow. Focus on symptoms, look at test results, treat what is visible. But over the years, something kept bothering me. I would meet patients who did everything right. They ate reasonably well. They had no strong family history. They followed medical advice. And yet, they still developed serious gut issues, sometimes even colon-related diseases. That made me question something deeper. If we are doing everything right, then what are we missing? I'm Dr. Queen from Senior Healthcare, and after years of observing patterns in patients, one thing became very clear. The problem often begins long before symptoms appear, and in many cases, it begins in the gut. Let's simplify this. Your gut is not just a place where food is digested, it's a living ecosystem. Inside it, there are trillions of microorganisms. Some of them are beneficial. They support digestion, they help regulate your immune system. They even produce important compounds your body needs, but not all bacteria are helpful, some are harmful. And under the right conditions, these harmful bacteria begin to grow more aggressively. Now here's where it gets serious. These harmful bacteria don't just sit quietly. They release toxins. They irritate the lining of your intestines. And most importantly, they create something called chronic inflammation. This is not the kind of inflammation you feel like pain or swelling. This is silent inflammation. It stays in the background, day after day, month after month. And over time, it begins to damage the cells lining your colon. Now think about this carefully. Your colon lining is constantly renewing itself. Old cells die. New cells replace them. But when inflammation is present, this process becomes unstable. Cells can start growing abnormally. DNA can get damaged. And this is where the early stages of serious problems begin. Not suddenly, but slowly, quietly, over years. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that individuals with higher levels of inflammatory gut bacteria had significantly increased markers linked to colon cell damage. And yet, most people never feel this happening. That's what makes it dangerous, because by the time symptoms appear, the process has often been going on for a long time. Now, here's something even more important. Your gut bacteria are not fixed. They change based on what you eat every single day. Your meals are not just feeding you, they are feeding your gut bacteria. So the question becomes, are you feeding the bacteria that protect you or the ones that slowly damage your system? Because most modern diets, high in processed foods, sugar, and low in fiber, create the perfect environment for harmful bacteria to thrive. And once they start dominating, they begin to control the environment inside your gut. They increase inflammation. They weaken your natural defenses. And they create conditions where abnormal cells can survive and grow. But here's where things start to shift. Researchers have discovered that certain natural compounds, especially those found in specific spices, have the ability to influence this balance, not in a random way, but in a very targeted way. Targeted. One particular compound has been studied extensively. It has shown the ability to reduce harmful bacterial activity while supporting beneficial bacteria at the same time. This is important because most treatments, even medications, act like a wipeout. They destroy both good and bad bacteria. But this compound behaves differently. It targets the harmful ones more aggressively while allowing the beneficial ones to survive and grow. And that creates a completely different outcome inside your gut. Instead of imbalance, it helps restore control. Now imagine what happens when you consistently introduce something like this into your diet, not once in a while, but regularly. Your gut environment begins to change. Inflammation begins to reduce. The harmful bacteria lose their dominance, and your internal system starts moving back toward balance. This is not theory. This is something researchers have been studying for years, but there's a major problem. Most people who try to use this spice get little to no real benefit, not because it doesn't work, but because they are using it incorrectly. And that one mistake is the reason why most people never see results. In the next part, I'm going to show you exactly what this spice is, how it works inside your body at a deeper level, and most importantly, the one simple change you must make if you actually want it to work. Because without that, you could be using it every day and still getting almost no benefit. Now let's talk about the spice itself, because this is where most people either lose interest or completely misunderstand what's actually happening. The compound we're talking about is curcumin, and the source of it is turmeric. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You've heard about turmeric before. Maybe you've even used it. Maybe you've seen it in health videos or articles, and that's exactly why most people overlook it. Because when something becomes too common, people assume it's not powerful. But here's what most people are never told. Curcumin is not just another healthy ingredient. It is one of the most researched natural compounds in modern science. Thousands of studies have examined its effects on inflammation, gut health, and even abnormal cell behavior. But the real question is, what exactly does it do inside your body? Let's break it down simply. Inside your gut, harmful bacteria don't just exist. They organize. They form protective layers called biofilms. These biofilms act like shields. They protect harmful bacteria from your immune system. They help them survive, and they allow them to continue releasing toxins without being easily removed. This is one of the reasons why harmful bacteria become so difficult to control over time. Now, here's where curcumin becomes different. Instead of attacking everything blindly, it interferes with these harmful bacteria in very specific ways. It weakens their outer structure. It disrupts their ability to form those protective biofilms, and it reduces the signals they use to communicate with each other. So instead of growing stronger, they start losing their coordination and stability. And when that happens, your body gets a better chance to control them naturally. But that's only one part of the story, because curcumin doesn't just reduce harmful bacteria. It also supports beneficial bacteria. Certain good bacteria in your gut help regulate inflammation and support your immune system. And curcumin has been shown to help these beneficial strains grow. So instead of wiping everything out, it shifts the balance. It pushes your gut environment in the right direction. Now, here's where things get even more interesting, because the effect of curcumin doesn't stop in the gut. It continues at the cellular level. To understand this, you need to know one important concept. For abnormal cells to grow, they need support. They need nutrients, and most importantly, they need a blood supply. Without a blood supply, they cannot grow beyond a very small size. So what do these abnormal cells do? They send signals. They release certain proteins that tell your body to build new blood vessels around them. Once those blood vessels form, they get a steady supply of nutrients. And that's when growth accelerates. This is one of the key turning points. Now, here's what researchers have found. Curcumin has the ability to interfere with this process. It helps block those signals. So instead of allowing new blood vessels to form easily, it slows down that process, which means abnormal cells struggle to grow and expand. At the same time, curcumin also interacts with something called apoptosis. This is your body's natural self-destruct system for damaged cells. Normally, when a cell becomes faulty, your body tells it to shut down and remove itself, but abnormal cells often find ways to ignore that signal. They continue to survive when they shouldn't. Curcumin helps restore that signal. It encourages damaged cells to go through that natural shutdown process. So instead of allowing them to continue, it pushes them toward removal. And this is why researchers are so interested in this compound, because it works on multiple levels at the same time: gut balance, inflammation control, cellular regulation. But now we come to the most important part. And this is where almost everyone makes a mistake, even people who already use turmeric, even people who believe they are doing something healthy. Here's the problem: curcumin on its own is very poorly absorbed by the body. When you consume turmeric, only a very small amount of curcumin actually enters your bloodstream. Most of it passes through your system without being used effectively. That means you could be taking it every day and still not getting the benefits. This is the biggest reason why people say, "I tried it, it didn't do anything." It's not that it doesn't work, it's that it wasn't used correctly. And this one detail changes everything, because when you fix this, the same spice becomes significantly more effective. And the best part is, the solution is simple. You don't need anything complicated. You don't need expensive supplements. There are two things that completely change how your body absorbs curcumin, and both of them are already in most kitchens. The first is black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound that helps slow down the breakdown of curcumin in your body. This allows more of it to be absorbed instead of being lost. The second is fat. Curcumin is fat soluble, which means it needs fat to be properly absorbed. Without fat, its effectiveness drops significantly. But when you combine turmeric with black pepper and a small amount of healthy fat, the absorption increases dramatically. And that's the difference between getting almost nothing and getting a meaningful effect. So now you're not just adding a spice, you're creating a combination that actually works inside your body. And this is exactly what most people are missing. They use turmeric alone, or they use very small amounts, or they don't combine it correctly. And because of that, they never see real results. In the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this properly in your daily routine, how much you need, when to take it, and the simple way to include it in your meals without changing your entire diet. Because once you apply this correctly, that's when everything starts to shift. Now let's make this simple and practical, because none of this matters if you don't actually use it. You don't need to change your entire diet. You don't need anything complicated. You just need to use this correctly and consistently. Here's how to do it. Start with about half to 1 teaspoon of turmeric per day. Not all at once, but spread across your meals, and every single time you use it, add a pinch of black pepper. This is not optional. Without it, your body will absorb very little of the active compound. Then include a small source of healthy fat. This could be olive oil, eggs, nuts, or even the natural fat in your food. That combination is what makes it effective. A simple way to start is in the morning. You can mix turmeric into warm water or plant-based milk. Add black pepper. Add a small amount of healthy fat. This takes less than 5 minutes, and it sets the tone for your body at the start of the day. Then during lunch or dinner, you can add turmeric to vegetables, rice, soups, or eggs. It blends easily into most meals. No complicated recipes needed. Now here's what you can expect. Within the first couple of weeks, your gut environment begins to shift. Not something you feel instantly, but something happening internally. Over time, inflammation starts to reduce. Digestion may feel smoother. Energy becomes more stable, but the key is consistency. Doing this once in a while won't change anything. Your gut responds to patterns. Daily repetition is what creates real change. I remember one patient, 66 years old, very practical mindset. He didn't believe small changes mattered, but he agreed to try this for 30 days. When he came back, he said something simple but powerful. "I didn't expect much, but I feel different." That's how these changes begin. Not dramatic overnight transformations, but steady internal improvements. So here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, add turmeric, black pepper, and a healthy fat to your daily routine. Keep it simple. Stay consistent. And if you know someone who struggles with gut issues, low energy, or relies heavily on processed food, share this with them, because sometimes the smallest habit repeated daily is the one that protects you the most over time. Your body is always responding to what you give it. The only question is, are you helping it or slowly working against it?